Mr. President, the Blemflark's value just dropped to nothing.
What do you mean?
I mean, our single centralized galactic currency just went from being worth 1 of itself to 0 of itself.
Hey guys, Rafa here from the Endgame Investor. Today I wanted to discuss what the world will look like, or will likely look like monetarily during and after the endgame. The last video I did on the relationship between gold and the truckers, I got a response to it from somebody that I want to go over and kind of take apart. In that video, my point was that just like the state does not understand that it is reliant on the physical infrastructure which the truckers provide them, they also do not understand that their money substitutes, their dollars and euros and yen and whatever, are also reliant on the physical reality of gold, because what gives money its value is not the force to make people use it, but rather it's the gold value that is in that currency, because currencies started as gold and silver substitutes that is being leached off by the inflationary process. And the force is to enable them to inflate, to extract that gold and silver value. But once that gold and silver value is ultimately extracted for good, the currency dies and it cannot be rebuilt. You have to go back to gold and silver itself. Either that or another viable currency that is a gold and silver substitute. So the person writes, in response to my video, you could invest in anything, since the price of everything has been and will probably continue to go up. Well, that's sort of true, yeah. But you can't spend gold and silver when you go shopping. You have to convert it back to worthless money until an entirely new system is created, not like we have gold dinars anymore. So there are several problems with this. First of all, so yeah, you could invest in anything, but when you buy gold, when you acquire gold, you're not investing, you're acquiring money. Gold is not an investment, it is money. When you work for money, you're not investing, you're acquiring money. The thing about gold versus the paper that is a gold substitute is that you are placing a bet that the gold substitute, the money, the dollar, the euro, the shekel, or wherever you are, is going to fall in value. And as that happens, the purchasing power of gold is going to rise. Why would you bet that? Well, just on a logical basis. All paper currencies in history have all collapsed. These will too. It's a 100% certainty. When that happens, most people will be caught with their monetary pants down. They won't have a way to trade for goods and services efficiently. And so they will need to acquire a means to trade for goods and services efficiently, because the division of labor must be maintained. People have specific skills that they will need to market, just as they do now, because nobody knows how to do everything. In fact, we have the most crazy division of labor that we've ever had in history, as it gets more and more crazy, as people get more and more specialized. People are specialized in really stupid things now because of the bubble, but that's a different issue. So in order to maintain the division of labor, people without real money will need to trade things for real money at very high exchange rates, which means practically that the purchasing power of gold and silver will be extremely high. That is the bet of investing, quote unquote, investing in real money. You're betting that when the current division of labor based on the inflated money substitutes collapses, the return to real money will be so extreme that you will be able to acquire much more goods and services than you could acquire now for that gold and silver. Now, for those who want to go deeper into this, I put a link in the description below for my, I guess you could call it magnum opus on this subject, an article called Gold is Money, the Dollar is a Gold Substitute, and Fiat Currency is Impossible. Here I will read the bullet points and the introduction just so you can get a taste of what I'm talking about here. So gold is money, the dollar is a gold substitute, and fiat currency is impossible. 1. Austrian economist F.A. Hayek. This is the one who won the Nobel Prize. Not the best of the Austrian economists, but very good one. Austrian economist F.A. Hayek said his one discovery in economics was the idea that the price system is essential as a guide to enable people to fit into an order.
My one discovery in economics, the idea that the price system is really essential as a guide to enable people to fit into an order.
His teacher, Ludwig von Mises, traced the origin of prices back to the monetary nexus point, when gold and silver evolved organically as money from a system of barter. Everyone wakes up in the morning having an idea of what prices are based on what prices were yesterday, and so on back to that monetary nexus origin point. 4, it follows that the entire notion of fiat currency is impossible, and the only thing that gives dollar value is its exchangeability with gold. The dollar is not fiat, it is a gold substitute. We still call it fiat, that is the colloquial word that we use, but it is not fiat in the sense that its value is not drawn from the fact that people are forced to use it. Its value is drawn from the gold or silver that it can be substituted for and how it originated. The gold window is still open. The dollar never went off the gold standard, and the only way to end inflationary finance and demonetize the dollar is to buy physical gold now and close that window for good. Introduction, going to the supermarket with a gold coin. Gold is money, the gold bug tells the dollar enthusiast. Gold is money, you say? The dollar enthusiast responds. Then go to a supermarket with a gold coin and try to buy something. See if it works. It's a challenge I've heard countless times. It's time to slay this dragon. Here's my retort. The dollar is money, you say? Then go to a supermarket with dollars when dollars can no longer be exchanged for any amount of physical gold at all and try to buy something. See if it works. The answer is it won't work. Once a dollar or any paper currency can no longer be exchanged for any amount of physical gold, that currency becomes entirely worthless. This is not an empirical observation, but a deductive, inescapable logical truth. How so? Why, if the dollar cannot be exchanged for any amount of physical gold, must it be entirely worthless? And there's Hayek. And you can continue the article on your own. That was just an introduction. When he says you can't spend gold and silver when you go shopping, that's not entirely true. When you spend fiat money, when you spend money substitutes, you are spending gold and silver. You just don't realize it. The only reason you can't use gold and silver directly is because of legal tender laws that people have to pay taxes, and that's how they force you to use their money substitutes, which is what enables them to inflate the gold and silver value out of them for themselves. So yes, true, right now you can't use gold and silver coins when you go shopping, but you're still using the gold and silver value of the money substitute when you do go shopping. Second, you have to convert it back to worthless money until an entirely new system is created. The contradiction here is once they are worthless, then you won't be able to use them because a hyperinflated currency is worthless and nobody will use it. Every time a currency hyperinflates, then people have to go back to gold and silver itself or some other form of barter if they have no gold and silver. So what doesn't make sense here is that in a hyperinflationary state, the money substitute is gone. It cannot be used. You'll have to use gold and silver because that is the most efficient form of barter. Now, I wanted to clear up an economic concept here. There's this artificial dichotomy in economics. Even in the Austrian school, the sources that I've read don't really emphasize this point, that there's no real dichotomy between barter and a monetary system. It's not like there's a line or a border between money and barter that once you cross it, that's it, you're in like a new system or something. It's a continuum. Okay, they can both be called trade. It's just a way to describe it. Barter is a system where there are a lot of different things that are being used as trade, so it's less efficient. Whereas a monetary system is there's one most liquid commodity that is being used to barter or trade other things, and it's more efficient because then you can get anything for that money, and you don't have to find the double coincidence of wants. You don't have to find the guy with the exact thing that you want in the right proportions and who also wants the exact thing you have in the right proportions. You can just use money or gold or silver. Now, what makes gold and silver the best money is that its physical nature as a commodity, just like any other commodity, makes it divisible and hold its value and all that other stuff that makes a good money. But when you're using gold and silver, you're still in a barter economy. It's just an efficient barter economy. So when the monetary system breaks down, when the money substitute system really breaks down and fiat currencies become worthless because they've extracted all their gold and silver value, what will things look like? Well, initially the government's going to go nuts and they're going to outlaw gold and silver and they're going to try to seize it. They'll try to seize mostly gold because silver is too bulky to seize. So you'll have to protect yourself against that in any way you can. They'll try to take the gold, they'll try to confiscate it for themselves, because that's what inflation is. Inflation is the confiscation of gold value from the money. So if they can't do it through inflation clandestinely, they'll do it outright. But many people think that if the dollar collapses, people will use euros or yen or won or whatever's out there, Swiss francs or something. The problem with that is that central banks are a cartel. They work together. They work together to keep currency exchange rates more or less stable, because if they mess up a little too much, then they're going to upset their import-export statistics, and their economic balances and their vested interests are all going to complain. So they have to keep these exchange rates in balance with each other. But they will all fall against gold and silver. And as the race to the bottom, which is what we call it, as the race to the bottom speeds up, all these currencies are going to die in real terms. So no, the dollar is not going to be replaced with the euro or any other paper currency. It's going to have to be replaced with gold. And the state's going to fight that. And they're going to confiscate. What's going to happen is you're going to have black markets where people are going to be able to buy food only with the best commodity. And if there is no gold or silver in that commodity, then the economy really will break down into a system of primitive barter where you'll trade goods for other goods. And, you'll really have to have connections, and it's going to be very difficult for many people. But the most marketable commodity back then was gold and silver, and the most marketable commodity now is still that, because of the properties of these metals. And so it will return as money in black markets first. And if you have those things with you, you will be able to acquire a lot of real goods and services with them in the black market, which is what you should be doing at the beginning. I want to go back into that line that was sent to me by this person. It says you have to convert it back to worthless money until an entirely new system is created. Okay, so monetary systems are not created. They are formed from the ground up. Okay, they start in inefficient barter, and then the traders find a more efficient commodity to barter with, and ultimately that always leads to gold and silver, because they are the most marketable, efficient commodities to barter with. That's just what they are naturally. So this response is written from a top-down perspective that is assuming that once the monetary system collapses, the governments are going to have to create a new paper money system that from the top down, they'll be able to dictate prices. But prices cannot be dictated from above, which is why prices always have to go back into the past to reference past supply and demand dynamics, which is how you divide goods and services in the most economic way. You have to be able to relate it to what prices were the day before. So you can't create a top-down system on the back of a collapsed fiat currency. You have to create it on the back of a currency that still exists and still will exist, and that currency is gold and silver, just as it is right now. It's just being leached off of with paper money substitutes, or digital money substitutes, or money substitutes for those money substitutes, which are blockchain money substitutes. It doesn't matter what system it is. It all has to go back to gold and silver in the end, because that's how prices started, and the chain has to continue in a liquid, continuous way. So to sum up, when the dollar hyperinflates, all of the currencies that maintain loose exchange rates with the dollar will continue to maintain loose exchange rates with the dollar, except in real terms, all those currencies will be worthless. And then economies will have to go back to black markets, where if there is no gold and silver available, then the next best commodity will be used to barter, and you'll have disjointed economies of different barter systems. But in countries where there is a gold and silver, you will have more smooth transactions and a more natural economy. At the beginning, the economies of the world are going to be clamoring for any gold and silver supplies they can get, which means that people with real goods and services are going to be willing to sell you a lot of what they have for very little amounts of gold and silver, just to get a monetary medium going again, so they can get the division of labor flowing again. So yeah, it's true, we don't have gold dinars now. Most people don't have them. But when you cannot buy things with the paper money of the state, there is nothing else to buy things with except other commodities. And the best commodities to buy things with, because of their physical nature, is gold and silver. It's just another form of barter. It just happens to be the most efficient form of barter. And that's why you need these metals now, before the monetary system implodes. The good news is that when it implodes, the state is not going to have the power that it has now, because it won't be able to pay its thugs in its money.
Watch closely as Grandpa topples an empire by changing a 1 to a 0.
Deploy the Galactic Militia and declare martial law.
Yes, sir. What should I pay them with? Wait, who's paying me to yell at this guy?
I can answer that. For money.
There's a solution here you're not seeing.
So it will concentrate its power into the gold and silver that it maybe does have. The good thing is that Canada, the Bank of Canada, has none. So the Canadian dollar is going to fall to 0. And when that happens, the country will be freed. In the end, it's like this. Once the dollar collapses, there's going to be no top-down system of money that is going to work, because the money doesn't work that way. It works from the bottom up. It always has. That's how fiat currencies today exist, because they leech off of the gold and silver currencies that they used to be. And you can still exchange gold and silver for these currencies, which means they are still viable money substitutes. But once they are not anymore, you can't go back and make it work again. You have to go back to the original money, so you can have a system of prices. The global economy is going to incentivize using gold and silver by pricing everything in gold and silver terms extremely, extremely low, which means gold and silver, actual physical coins you hold in your hand, are going to be able to buy a lot of stuff. And yes, the government is going to make that as illegal as possible, and they're going to threaten, and they're going to cry, and they're going to whine, and they're probably going to kill some people too. But they're not going to have a lot of power because they're going to be out of money. So yeah, it's going to be rough, but the best way to get through it is to have real money and to be able to defend yourself. And yes, buy some food, get some shelter, get your basic needs, so you don't have to actually be buying these things until you really need to. So maybe you can spend, the first few weeks or months in your house just holed up as riots break out or whatever happens. I don't know. But yeah, food is good. All of those stuff is good. But yeah, you need to concentrate on money that you will need, and it will make you rich in real terms when things start to settle down, and they will. This is Rafi of the Endgame Investor. If you want to support me, please sign up for a 2-week free trial of the Endgame Investor at the link in the description below, or sign up to be my patron on Patreon. Link in the description below as well, where I give weekly videos on my commentary on the Bible on liberty-based themes. This is Rafi, the Endgame Investor, and I'll see you soon.